The Bible says he created us in his image and likeness, male and female. God is male and female. And he created a family so that we would know him. Because we reflect who he is. And he designed us to be able to create children in our image and likeness. And what's interesting is that the word agape has to do with your will. So you have the three types of creation in the universe. First is the inanimate objects that are ruled by the law of cause and effect, right? If I drop this, the force of gravity will pull it towards the center of the earth. Physical objects. We have physical bodies, so we're also ruled, regulated by the physical laws. But then you have animals. Animals are regulated by instinct. They have some urges they cannot control. But we are higher than the animals because we're made in God's image. Yes, we have also physical bodies, but we have an intellect, emotions, and free will. We are like God in those three ways. So emotions, it's good, part of eros, love, part of phileo, love, intellect, in those emotions go along with that. But then there's the deepest one, which is agape love, which is 100% a choice. Agape love is choosing for the other person what's best, regardless of the physical situation and regardless of how you feel. Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think the easiest way for me to see it, like the picture of it, is when I think of when I had a baby, and the love that you feel as a mother, as a father, for this baby, and you're willing to sacrifice, you're willing to lose your sleep, you're thinking about how I can just make sure that this little child is healthy and happy and growing, thriving. You're willing to lay down your own life. There's a couple at church just had their first baby, and
Michael and Brittany.
Yeah, I saw their post on Facebook, and they're so happy, and they're like, we're so tired, we haven't slept, but it doesn't matter. They have so much joy right now just giving to this little baby that's so vulnerable and dependent on them. And I just think it's neat that God gives us that picture, because later, you get married and you have to make choices. I mean, as a parent, you make choices too. But sometimes I think because we start having an expectation, we're not expecting something from this baby, but we start expecting something from our spouse, and so it becomes harder to sacrifice because we're like, well, I want them to sacrifice for me, or I want them to do this. And we're thinking first of what we want, and not first about just giving what we can for the other person. So it's challenging. I think, why am I so willing to sacrifice, lose sleep? Because when my child wakes up sick, I'm there. When there's a need, why would I be slow to meet a need that Cesar has? When he needs me just to make a phone call or do something for him, sometimes I'm like, why do I have to do it? That's so selfish. And it's really making that choice to, you know what, I'm going to serve the other person. And that's love.
Check it out. God designed the family the most amazing way for him to communicate who he is to us. So I believe the most sacrificial way of loving is experienced by mothers, because the baby's growing inside your body for 9 months. You feed that baby, you put your whole life at risk, giving birth to that baby, and then you were so bonded with that baby that was inside of you for 9 months. The love that a couple can experience is more learned, is more acquired, right? And we live in a society today that is ruled by feelings. I felt out of love. I don't feel it anymore. Well, the sacrificial agape love is what God did for us and exemplified it in us. Having children, you don't have children so they give something back to you. God's nature is not for him to receive. Yes, he wants to receive something back, but he didn't need us. He wanted to give to us. And when he gives to us and we reciprocate to him, is that perfect circle of happiness occurs. It's in giving, not in taking. So
that reminds me of the quote from a message yesterday was, what if a greater love for God was actually the answer to your greatest needs or your greatest problems, the greatest things you're facing? What if just having a greater love for God would actually change those situations? And it does, you know?
yeah, the Bible says that Jesus went into a Pharisee's house, and the Pharisee was a very respected religious leader, and you can picture him as being the pastor of a mega church. You know, and he was a very respected religious man in that town. He invited Jesus, and back then, part of the tradition is if you were invited to someone's house, somebody who was important came, people from the town could come and listen. And they could actually go inside into the property and listen to what this person had to say. And so they were having a dinner, and it was not a table like where we sit today, but the table was on the floor, and they leaned on their elbow, and they ate like this, and their feet were towards the outside. And the story says that this woman came, this sinful woman came, and she was weeping over Jesus's feet. So back then, the roads were made out of dirt. They were not paved. So their feet got stinky, muddy. So when they went to somebody's house, there was some water to wash your feet to go in. And it says, this story says that the woman was weeping with her and wiping Jesus's feet with her hair. And then she pulled out an alabaster jar, which was a jar. Historians believe that it was a jar that little girls received. And it was very, very expensive. And they made a perfume out of it that was very expensive, worth about a year's wages. And that was broken to be used during her honeymoon, during her wedding night. But she was a sinful woman, probably a prostitute. Women were not allowed. It was not right for a woman to uncover her hair in public. And yet she's uncovering her hair. She's weeping over Jesus's feet. She's wiping his feet with her hair and then pouring the jar on his feet.
That oil.
The oil. And then it says that the Pharisee thought, if this guy was a prophet, like he says he is, he would not let this woman touch him if he would only know who she was. The Bible says in the story that Jesus, knowing what he was thinking, he told him, hey, Simon, yes, brother, tell me. Let me ask you a question. Can I tell you a story? Yeah, sure. There were two men. One of them owed about $2,000 to somebody, and the other person owed like $200,000 to somebody. It's about the equivalent to what it was back then. And the guy, the money was owed to, forgave both of the debts. Which one would love the most? Which one would be the most grateful? The one who owed $2,000 or the one who owed $200,000? And Simon told him, oh, obviously the one that owed the most. Well, this woman right here, she loves much because she has been forgiven much. I came into your house, you didn't offer me the most basic courtesy, water to wash my feet. And yet, this woman right here hasn't stopped wiping my feet with her hair, wetting it with her tears, pour the ointment, drying them out. And yet you gave me nothing. Meaning, she is so grateful for the love that Jesus had given to her by forgiving her. So here's something amazing. The most powerful being in the universe, the most powerful person, the most knowledgeable person, the most resourceful person is also the most loving person and the most sacrificial person who came to rescue us while we were lost.
Yeah. It's powerful